So I want to do an example here where all of these things that I've just explained are mixed together, where we have expressions, variables, and functions all working together to make a small program that actually starts to do things for us. Okay, so I'm going to use a small little example. I'm going to think of something that I need. Something that I would say is pretty useful is having a way to convert my my euros into Canadian dollars. That's something I need to do a lot. Okay, so how can I create a program for myself that converts my Canadian dollars in my euros into Canadian dollars? So the first thing is I'm going to make a function. So I'm going to write define, and let's call it euro to CAD. Then I need to do the parentheses and the colon. So what's my euro to CAD going to do? My euro to CAD is going to multiply 1 euro, so I'm going to have to then do some research and find out what the exchange rate is. Current exchange rate of a euro is $1.55 Canadian cents. So I'm going to now, in my function here, make an expression, which I'm going to say CAD. So my Canadian dollars is equal to 1 times 1.55. Okay. So 1.55 is the exchange rate, and I have $1. So let's now print CAD, print the Canadian dollars. Okay, so that's the function that I've just created. Now if I run it, nothing happens because I need to tell it to do it. Euro to CAD. Alright, now if I run it, gives me the number 155. Now if I change, because it's not 1 versus 155, but let's say it's 5 euros. Okay? So remember, my Canadian dollar is going to be 5 euros times 155, because that's the exchange rate. And then I'm going to print Canadian dollars, because Canadian dollars is going to be the result of that expression. All right, let's run it. 7.75. So if I have 5 euros, I got 7.75 Canadian dollars. Now, I don't want to be having to change my my function here, because I just created that function. It's not going to be very useful if I'm changing it all the time. So what I'm going to do now is a variable. I'm going to introduce a variable to make this simpler. So I'm going to change that. Instead of making it 5, that's actually the euro you said. So I'm going to make a variable called euro. See how it's yellow? Because it's not defined. So where do I define it? I can define it above, but actually I'm going to define it right inside of the parentheses here. Because essentially what that does is it means that my definition is a particular kind of definition now that takes an argument. So my function here is, my function is taking an argument. The argument is going to be called euro. Okay, and now my Canadian dollar means euro times 1.55, and I'm going to print my Canadian dollar. Now if I run this program, nothing comes out, and in fact I get an error. Now this doesn't work. Why doesn't this work now? Because it's not taking in an argument. Okay, so let's give it an argument. What did we say before? Let's say I have 25 euros. So euro to CAD. Euro is 25. If I run this now, it prints out automatically for me how much Canadian dollars that would be. 38.75. Right? And now we can even do this another way, making other variables on top. And I can say up here that this is my money. And my money equals 50. Okay? And so my euro to CAD times is now going to take as its argument my money. You see? So I've said here, my money is 50. I have 50 money. Okay, or euros in this case. Now, I'm going to say to EuroCAD, which is this definition, my money, which is 50. And so, euro to CAD is going to take 50. It's going to plug it in here and multiply by 1.55, and then get this variable called CAD. And then it's going to print CAD for me. So let's run. What happens now? 77 Canadian dollars and 50 cents. Okay? Now, to do this on Scratch is going to be something similar, but of course, because it's blocks, we do a little bit different. So let me move on over to Scratch and show you. So we have a function here. Okay, define our function. Let's scrap this and get a whole new function, okay? And make a whole new function. Let's make a function, and we're gonna call this one Euro to CAD. All right, and our Euro to CAD, just like we did, we wanted to take an argument or add an input. So I'm gonna click on this. Okay, so you see I have Euro to CAD as it's named here, and then I also get to decide what argument it's going to take. And just like I had in Python, I wanted to call it Euro. I'm going to put that here, and I'm going to call it Euro. So Euro to CAD, Euro, and I'm going to create this function. So this command right here is the exact same in Python as this command right here. Scratch is very similar to Python in almost every sense. So define Euro to CAD. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a variable. And my variable is going to be CAD, because that's the eventual value that I want. I want to know the Canadian dollars for the euros that I have. So I create CAD, and then what my function is going to do here is it's going to set CAD to, I'm going to have to go to my operators here, I'm going to make an expression. So set CAD to Euro times 1.55, because that's the exchange rate between Canadian dollars and euros. And I'm going to take this little variable, which is technically we call it a parameter when it's the argument of a function. I'm going to put it there. So, define this function. So I'm defining this function. This function does nothing other than it sets Canadian dollars to whatever euro number is put into it times 1.55. And then, of course, just like my other one, I want it to print Canadian dollars, so I'm going to have to grab the variable here. And then print it. Okay, now look, if I run my program, it doesn't run it because what do I need to do? I need to go to my blocks, and I need to put it in. Okay, now you see here, this one has an empty space next to it now, because it's waiting for me to give it a number. So the number I gave before, I have 50 euros. 50 euros to CAD. I put that number in there. It takes that number. It puts it here. So the number comes from here, and it goes there. And then CAD, this value, which is going to be printed out, is going to be that number multiplied by 1.55, which is the exchange rate. All right, now let me run the program. $77.50 Canadian from 50 euros. Okay? So that's how you make your own basic function that can start doing things. And if you look, everything's actually made out of function. In fact, we're using other people's functions they've made for us all the time. And so that's why making functions and sharing them is so important. For example, if you look here at the print command, you see how print, it's purple because it's built in with Python, but how it works just like ours, it has a word and then has a parentheses and then it has something inside, and how mine has a word and then parentheses, something inside. That's because print was a function that somebody else created. But it's a function that comes built in with the language, so we call them built-in functions. Okay? So essentially what you do when you create a block here, when you create a function by defining it here, you're doing exactly what everybody who built the language did. And you're adding stuff and you're building the languages. And you can find other people who's made different functions for a large array of different things. There's people who've made functions that can recognize your voice, people who've made functions that can play your sound files or image files for you, all these kind of things. And so that's really where the world of programming starts opening up, with that function as the central building block, okay?